And today I want to ask you one simple question. Why do some people speak English confidently using very easy words, while others know hundreds of difficult words but still cannot speak? The answer may surprise you. In this lesson, you will discover why simple English is the secret used by many fluent speakers. You will learn how simple words can help you speak faster, think faster, and build real confidence. So stay with me until the end, because what you learn today may completely change the way you learn English. Chapter 1. Why simple English is more powerful than difficult English. Many years ago, there was an English learner who believed that speaking English meant using difficult words and advanced grammar. Every day he memorized long vocabulary lists. He filled notebook after notebook with complicated expressions. He spent hours learning words that native speakers rarely used in daily conversations. He believed that if he could learn enough difficult English, he would become fluent. He worked hard and stayed committed. But something strange happened. Even after learning hundreds of new words, he still could not speak comfortably. When someone asked him a simple question in English, he became nervous. His mind felt empty. The words he had studied disappeared. He worried about making mistakes. He worried about choosing the perfect word. Instead of speaking, he often stayed silent. One day he met a traveler while visiting a busy market. The traveler spoke English with confidence. He talked to shop owners, tourists, and local people with ease. The learner listened carefully because he expected to hear advanced vocabulary and impressive grammar. But that was not what he heard. The traveler used simple words. His sentences were short and clear. He did not try to sound intelligent. He simply focused on communication. Everyone understood him. Conversations flowed naturally. People smiled and responded easily. The traveler seemed relaxed and comfortable. The learner could not understand why such simple English worked so well. After watching the traveler for some time, the learner gathered the courage to ask a question. The traveler explained something that changed his thinking forever. He said that communication is not about showing how many words you know. Communication is about expressing ideas clearly. People do not care if your vocabulary is huge. They care if they can understand you. A simple message that people understand is more powerful than a complicated message that creates confusion. Those words stayed in the learner's mind. For the first time, he realized that he had been focusing on the wrong goal. Instead of learning how to communicate, he had been trying to impress people. Many English learners make the same mistake. They believe they must learn thousands of advanced words before they can start speaking. They think they need perfect grammar before having conversations. They spend months or even years preparing to speak, but they rarely practice actual communication. This creates a cycle of frustration. The more they study difficult material, the more they feel they are not ready. Confidence becomes weaker instead of stronger. Speaking begins to feel like a test rather than a natural skill. One reason this happens is perfectionism. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes. They want every sentence to be correct. They want every word to sound advanced. They worry that others will judge them. Because of this fear, they hesitate before speaking. They spend too much time thinking and not enough time communicating. Ironically, this fear slows learning. Language grows through use. Mistakes are part of the learning process. When learners avoid speaking because they want perfection, they lose valuable opportunities to improve. The truth is that fluent speakers often use simple English every day. Listen carefully to conversations in real life. People usually do not speak with difficult vocabulary. They use common words. They repeat familiar phrases. They focus on sharing ideas quickly and clearly. Even highly educated speakers often choose simple language because it is effective. The goal of communication is understanding, not complexity. This is an important lesson for every learner. Simple English is not weak English. It is practical English. It allows learners to start speaking earlier. It reduces stress and pressure. It helps people build confidence through successful communication. When learners use simple words, they spend less time searching for vocabulary and more time expressing their thoughts. Conversations become smoother. Understanding improves. Learning becomes more enjoyable. Over time, vocabulary naturally expands through reading, listening, and practice. But fluency begins with the ability to communicate simple ideas clearly. Imagine two learners. One knows thousands of difficult words but is afraid to speak. The other knows only basic vocabulary but uses it every day in conversations. Which learner will improve faster? In most cases, it is the second learner. Speaking regularly develops confidence, listening skills, and automatic thinking. Real progress comes from using the language, not only studying it. Language is a skill, just like riding a bicycle or playing a musical instrument. Skills improve through practice. As this lesson comes to an end, here is a simple challenge. For the next 24 hours, try to communicate using only basic English words. Describe your daily activities with simple sentences. Talk about your plans, your feelings, and your experiences using language you already know. Do not worry about sounding advanced. Focus only on being clear. You may be surprised by how much you can express with simple English. This challenge will help you discover an important truth. Fluency does not begin with difficult words. It begins with simple communication. And that discovery will prepare you for the next lesson. Chapter 2. How simple words create hundreds of real sentences. Many English learners believe that the secret to speaking fluently is learning thousands of new words. Every week, they memorize long vocabulary lists. They spend hours studying advanced expressions. They save difficult words in notebooks and phone apps. Yet when it is time to speak, they still struggle. They know many words, but they do not know how to use them naturally. This is where many learners become frustrated. They think they need even more vocabulary. In reality, the answer is often much simpler. Let us begin with a powerful example. Imagine that you know only a few common English words. Words like go, come, make, want, need, like, and feel. At first, these words may seem too simple to be useful, but look at how many sentences they can create. You can say, I want coffee. You can say, I want to learn English. You can say, I want to go home. With the word go, you can say, I go to school. I go to work. I go shopping. I go with my friends. A single word can be used in many different situations. When you combine simple words, you can create hundreds of useful sentences for daily life. A learner named Emma discovered this lesson in a surprising way. For years, she believed that speaking good English meant using advanced vocabulary. Every day, she studied difficult words. She memorized definitions and tried to remember complicated expressions. But conversations were stressful. When someone spoke to her, she spent too much time searching for impressive words. She worried about making mistakes. She worried about sounding simple. As a result, her speaking felt slow and uncomfortable. One day, Emma decided to change her approach. Instead of learning dozens of difficult words each week, she focused only on common words. She practiced using them in real sentences. She spoke about her daily activities. She described her plans. She talked about her feelings. She repeated the same useful words again and again. At first, it felt strange. She wondered if such simple English could really help her. But after a few weeks, something amazing happened. She began speaking more confidently. Her sentences came faster. She spent less time thinking and more time communicating. For the first time, conversations started to feel natural. Emma's progress was not magic. It happened because she focused on words that people actually use every day. Common words appear in conversations again and again. The more often we hear and use a word, the easier it becomes to remember. This is one reason why simple vocabulary is so powerful. It gives learners frequent opportunities to practice. Instead of learning a difficult word that may rarely appear in conversation, learners can master words that are useful every single day. Let us look more closely at how simple words create many sentences. Take the word like. You can say, I like music. I like this book. I like my teacher. I like learning English. I like walking in the evening. One word helps you express many ideas. Now consider the word need. You can say, I need help. I need water. I need more practice. I need time. I need to study. Again, a simple word creates many possibilities. The same pattern works with want, feel, make, come, and go. These words become building blocks for communication. This approach is much more effective than trying to memorize endless vocabulary lists. When learners focus on useful words, they practice creating sentences instead of collecting information. Language is not only about knowing words, it is about using them. A learner who knows 100 common words and uses them confidently can often communicate better than someone who knows 1,000 words but rarely speaks. There is also an important psychological reason why this method works. The brain remembers information that feels useful. When learners use words in real situations, those words become connected to experiences and emotions. The brain sees value in them and stores them more easily. Repetition strengthens these connections. Every time a learner uses a word successfully, the memory becomes stronger. This is why common words become automatic over time. They are repeated frequently and connected to everyday life. Many learners underestimate how much English they already know. They focus on the words they do not know instead of the words they do know. This creates unnecessary doubt. The truth is that many beginners already have enough vocabulary to start speaking. They know basic verbs. They know common nouns. They know simple expressions. The challenge is not learning more words immediately. The challenge is learning how to use existing words more often. Imagine building a house. You do not need thousands of different tools. You need to know how to use the tools you already have. English works in a similar way. A small group of common words can help you communicate many ideas. As you continue practicing, your vocabulary will naturally grow. But confidence comes from use, not from memorization alone. As this chapter comes to an end, take a moment to think about the words you already know. Words like go, come, make, want, need, like, and feel may seem simple, but they are extremely powerful. They can help you talk about your life, your goals, your opinions, and your experiences. They can help you start conversations and keep conversations moving. Most importantly, they can help you begin speaking today. The exciting discovery is this: speaking English is not about knowing more and more words. It is about using the words you already know. When learners understand this idea, a new sense of confidence begins to grow. They stop waiting for the perfect vocabulary. They stop believing they must know everything before they speak. They start using English immediately. And once they begin using English with confidence, they are ready for the next lesson, where they will learn how to speak more naturally and fearlessly in real conversations. Chapter 3: How Simple English Removes Fear and Builds Confidence. Many English learners face the same problem. They study grammar. They memorize vocabulary. They watch videos and read books. They spend months and sometimes years learning English. But when it is finally time to speak, fear suddenly appears. Their mind becomes blank. Their heart beats faster. Simple words seem difficult to remember. They worry about making mistakes. They worry about being judged. They worry about saying something wrong. As a result, they stay quiet even when they know enough English to communicate. This experience is much more common than most learners realize. Noah was one of those learners. He had studied English for several years. He knew many grammar rules. He had learned hundreds of vocabulary words. He could understand much of what he read and heard. Yet speaking remained his biggest challenge. Whenever someone tried to start a conversation in English, he became nervous. He spent too much time thinking about every sentence. He wanted everything to be perfect. If he was unsure about a word or grammar rule, he often chose not to speak at all. Deep inside, he feared sounding wrong. Because of this fear, Noah missed many opportunities to practice. He listened to others speak, but he rarely joined conversations. He believed that one day, after learning enough English, he would finally feel confident. He thought confidence would arrive automatically when his English became perfect. But that day never came. The more he waited, the more nervous he became. His knowledge continued growing, but his confidence remained weak. One day, Noah came across a simple idea that changed everything. Instead of trying to use advanced vocabulary and perfect grammar, he decided to speak using only simple English. He stopped worrying about sounding impressive. He focused on expressing basic ideas clearly. If he wanted to talk about his day, he used short sentences. If he wanted to share an opinion, he used words he already knew well. His goal was no longer perfection. His goal was communication. At first, Noah still felt nervous. Fear does not disappear overnight. But something interesting happened. Because his sentences were simple, he made fewer mistakes. Because he used familiar words, he spent less time searching for vocabulary. Speaking became easier. Conversations felt less stressful. Instead of worrying about every detail, he focused on the message he wanted to share. Little by little, he began speaking more often. After several weeks, Noah noticed a surprising change. His confidence was growing. He no longer froze when someone asked him a question. He could respond more quickly. He felt more relaxed during conversations. Most importantly, he started enjoying the process of speaking English. What changed was not his vocabulary size or grammar knowledge. What changed was his willingness to use the English he already knew. This experience teaches an important lesson. Confidence does not come from perfection. Confidence comes from action. Many learners believe they must become confident before they start speaking. In reality, the opposite is true. Speaking creates confidence. Every conversation teaches the brain that communication is possible. Every successful sentence becomes evidence that progress is happening. Confidence grows through experience, not through waiting. There is also a scientific reason why simple English helps reduce fear. When people feel nervous, the brain becomes overloaded. Too many thoughts compete for attention. Learners try to remember grammar rules, vocabulary words, pronunciation, and sentence structures all at the same time. This creates mental pressure. The brain becomes overwhelmed, and speaking feels difficult. Simple English reduces this pressure. When learners use familiar words and short sentences, the brain has fewer things to manage. Speaking becomes more natural and less stressful. One helpful exercise is to talk about daily activities using very simple sentences. For example, a learner can say, I woke up at 7. I ate breakfast. I went to work. I talked to my friend. I watched a video. These sentences may seem basic, but they build an important skill. They train the brain to express thoughts directly in English. The goal is not to sound advanced. The goal is to communicate comfortably. Another useful exercise is describing objects around you. You can say, this is my phone. The phone is black. I use it every day. I like this phone. These simple statements help develop speaking habits. They also create small successes. Every successful sentence reminds learners that they can communicate. These small victories may seem insignificant, but they are the foundation of confidence. As learners continue practicing, they discover that motivation often comes from success. When people experience progress, they want to continue. When they successfully complete a conversation, they feel encouraged. The next conversation becomes slightly easier. Then the next one becomes easier still. Confidence grows one sentence at a time. It does not arrive all at once. It develops gradually through repeated action. There is another truth that many learners never hear. People do not need perfect English to communicate successfully. Around the world, millions of people speak English as a second language. Many of them make grammar mistakes. Many of them use simple vocabulary, yet they communicate effectively every day. They build friendships, they conduct business, they travel, they share ideas. Communication happens because people focus on understanding each other, not on achieving perfection. This realization creates an important mindset shift. Learners begin to understand that fluency is not the ability to speak without mistakes. Fluency is the ability to share ideas and understand others. Simple communication is the foundation of real communication. The goal is not to impress people with difficult words. The goal is to connect with people through clear and meaningful conversation. As this chapter comes to an end, remember Noah's story. He did not become confident because he mastered every grammar rule. He became confident because he started speaking. He stopped waiting for perfection and began using simple English every day. That decision changed everything. The same approach can help any learner. When you focus on communication instead of perfection, fear becomes smaller and confidence becomes stronger. This is the powerful lesson of simple English. It removes unnecessary pressure. It makes speaking easier. It allows learners to take action immediately. Most importantly, it helps them discover that fluency begins with simple communication. And once this habit becomes part of daily life, learners are ready for the final chapter, where simple English transforms from a speaking technique into a complete daily habit for lasting fluency. Chapter 4: The Daily Simple English System for Real Fluency. For many English learners, fluency feels like a distant dream. They imagine that one day they will suddenly become confident speakers. They believe they must learn thousands of words, master every grammar rule, and eliminate every mistake before they can speak naturally. Because of this belief, many learners spend years preparing instead of communicating. But the truth is much simpler. Real fluency is not created by one big breakthrough. It is created by small actions repeated every day. This final chapter brings together everything we have learned and shows how simple English can become a daily habit that leads to lasting progress. Let us begin with the story of a learner named Daniel. When Daniel first started learning English, he translated everything in his head. If he wanted to say a simple sentence, he first thought in his native language. Then he searched for English words. Then he checked the grammar. By the time he was ready to speak, the conversation had already moved on. This process was frustrating and exhausting. Daniel often felt slow and uncomfortable. He believed he needed more vocabulary and more grammar knowledge before he could become fluent. One day, Daniel decided to try a different approach. Instead of focusing on difficult English, he began using simple English every day. He stopped worrying about sounding advanced. He focused on communicating simple ideas clearly. He spoke about his daily activities. He described things around him. He practiced short and useful sentences. At first, progress felt slow, but after several months, something remarkable happened. English started coming naturally. He no longer translated every sentence. He could think directly in English. Conversations became easier. Speaking felt more automatic. What changed his English was not a secret method. It was the habit of using simple English every day. Daniel's story reminds us of the most important lessons from this journey. Simple English reduces fear because it removes unnecessary pressure. Simple words are powerful because they can create countless useful sentences. Confidence grows through practice, not perfection. Communication matters more than showing how much vocabulary you know. These lessons may seem simple, but they have the power to transform the way learners approach English. Now, let us look at a complete daily system that beginners can follow. The first step is speaking simple sentences every day. This practice does not need to be complicated. Spend a few minutes talking about your day. Describe what you are doing. Say things like, I am drinking tea. I am studying English. I will visit my friend later. These short sentences train your brain to use English actively. The goal is not perfection. The goal is regular practice. The second step is learning useful vocabulary. Instead of memorizing long lists of difficult words, focus on words that you can use immediately. Learn words related to your daily life. Learn vocabulary about food, family, work, hobbies, and routines. Every time you learn a new word, create several simple sentences with it. This helps the word become part of your active vocabulary instead of remaining something you only recognize when reading. The third step is reading easy English content. Choose material that you can understand comfortably. Read simple stories, beginner articles, or easy conversations. Do not worry if the content feels basic. Reading understandable material helps your brain become familiar with common sentence patterns. It also builds confidence because you experience success instead of confusion. The more understandable English you read, the more natural English begins to feel. The fourth step is listening to slow and clear English. Find beginner-friendly podcasts, videos, or lessons. Listen carefully to how words are used in real sentences. Pay attention to common expressions and repeated patterns. Listening helps train your ears to recognize English automatically. Even a few minutes each day can make a significant difference over time. The fifth step is thinking in English during daily activities. This habit is simple but powerful. When you wake up, describe your plans in English. When you walk somewhere, describe what you see. When you eat a meal, think about the food in English. These small moments help reduce dependence on translation. Over time, thinking directly in English becomes more natural and automatic. Many learners believe they need long study sessions to improve. They think success requires several hours of practice every day. While dedicated study can certainly help, consistency is often more important than intensity. Practicing for 15 or 20 minutes every day is usually more effective than studying for several hours once a week. Daily practice keeps English active in your mind. It creates momentum. It turns learning into a habit instead of an occasional activity. Think about how people develop other skills. A musician improves by practicing regularly. An athlete improves through consistent training. Language learning follows the same principle. Small efforts repeated over time create remarkable results. The key is not doing everything perfectly. The key is showing up every day and taking another small step forward. There are countless examples of ordinary people who transformed their English through simple habits. Some learners improved by speaking to themselves for a few minutes each morning. Others developed fluency by reading easy stories every night. Some built confidence by describing their daily routines in simple English. None of these learners followed complicated systems. They simply practiced consistently. Their success came from repetition, patience, and persistence. As time passed, these learners discovered something important. Fluency was not a mysterious talent that only a few people possessed. It was the result of daily habits. Every simple sentence mattered. Every minute of listening mattered. Every page of reading mattered. Progress was often invisible from day to day, but over weeks and months the improvements became impossible to ignore. This brings us to the most important realization of all. Fluency is not a distant dream waiting somewhere in the future. It is being built right now through the actions you take each day. Every time you speak a simple sentence, you move closer to fluency. Every time you listen, read, think, or communicate in English, you strengthen your skills. Success is not created by one perfect moment. It is created by thousands of small moments of practice. If you have followed these lessons, you now know a truth that many learners never discover. You do not need perfect English to begin speaking. You do not need advanced vocabulary to communicate. You do not need to wait until you feel completely ready. The English you already know is enough to take the first step. So as this journey comes to an end, remember this message. Stop waiting for perfect English. Stop believing that fluency begins after one more course, one more book, or one more vocabulary list. Start speaking with the simple English you already know. Use it every day. Trust the process. Build small habits. Stay consistent. One sentence becomes two. Two sentences become conversations. Conversations become confidence. Confidence becomes fluency. And that first simple step you take today may be the step that changes everything. If this lesson helped you see English in a new way, make sure you subscribe to 24/7 English and join us on this journey. Give this video a like if you believe simple English can help you become fluent faster. And before you leave, write this sentence in the comments. I will use simple English every day. Make that promise to yourself today. Keep learning, keep practicing. And remember, simple English is not the beginning of fluency. It is the path to fluency. I'll see you in the next lesson.